conversation. And welcome back to the Beaver Show. We are now with Rupert Loman. Am I saying it correctly?
That's correct, yep.
Perfect. From Just About, or if you were a beaver, from Just a Boot. So, Rupert, can I call you Rupert?
Yeah, go for it.
So, could you talk to present yourself, who are you? What's the company about? And speak to us about Just About.
Yep, absolutely. So the backstory or the origin story is I started in games 25 years ago when I was 15. Started running LAN parties, particularly for Quake 2. That was my game. I'm not an EVE Online player. And those LAN parties led to me starting a website called Eurogamer, which we launched in 1999. And yeah, over the years that became quite successful, allowed us to launch lots of other new websites. So gamesindustry.biz became quite popular as well. And then we also launched some live events such as EGX, which became the UK's biggest gaming show. So kind of traditional kind of games media background, which I ran for many years until selling it about 5.5 years ago to a company called ReadPop, who run PAX in the United States. So a few years out, but now back with a new project called Just About, and that's how we've got in touch via the recent launch of Just About Eve.
Yeah, and it looks quite promising, but as most Eve player, we're not the typical gamer that just log in, do a session, and log out. We're a bit more intense. The community is really unique, and we look at that and we say oh well, yeah, I've been to GTA 4 and my is didn't got doubled. What about just a boot? So how well actually before we go into that, what actually bring you in link with CCP?
Yeah, so we kind of came up with, I guess, the idea and started work on the project about a year ago, and then earlier this year, I think at GDC was the first time we started talking to games companies about it. So obviously, having worked in games or games media for over 20 years, I know lots of people in the games industry, including a few people from CCP. I mentioned the project to someone I knew at CCP, I think maybe in around April time. And he was very enthusiastic and said, I'd love you to kind of present it to the rest of the team and tell them about it. So they set up a call, I think about 7 or 8 people from CCP, mainly kind of from the community team and some of the marketing and brand type people joined the call, and we presented the project, and it was really positive. Actually, we've had very positive conversations with lots of games companies, but CCP, in particular, kind of grasped the concept straight away. We're very enthusiastic, very supportive of what we were doing, and we carried on the conversation. And over the last, I guess, 2 or 3 months, I've been talking about launching out Just About Eve, and I think because they've been reasonably quick moving. Eve is the first game-centric community that we've launched, and as you say, a little bit of a trial by fire, because it's such a committed, knowledgeable, and kind of passionate audience, and they kind of want to know all the details. And I think it was a really positive. There was a Discord call on Monday before we launched, which some of our team joined. Some of the kind of Eve partner community, and it was good to kind of, I guess, talk about the idea and understand what are the questions. There's quite a few, I think, where we knew that there were kind of questions we would get asked, and then also some which were new or maybe a different focus to what we expected. But it's a brand new project. It's a little bit experimental, and it's different to some of the platforms that are out there. We kind of expect lots of questions and hopefully lots of interest, and we're particularly pleased. There's been lots of enthusiasm. So on the Discord, we've onboarded quite a few kind of Eve players onto the platform itself, and there's some good discussions already starting. We're obviously kind of listening, and there's certainly a few questions that we're kind of answering or going to be answering, as the platform starts to grow. But it's really great to have kind of Eve on there first, and if we can satisfy Eve players, then I think I think we'll have a kind of easier job with some of the other game communities that we launch with over the coming months and years.
That's actually really great. Well, actually, on this deal, because you need to get like a benefit from it, CCP that needs to get a benefit from it. Can we have like a little insight into like how that's working?
Absolutely, and we want actually the platform to be very transparent in terms of how it works in all aspects, including the finances. That's kind of one of the things we've heard about. A lot of other platforms that are out there. You kind of don't really know kind of what's going on in the background or what the motivations are. To put it plainly, I think what we're trying to create is a platform that benefits everyone. All of the stakeholders. Hopefully equally or certainly fairly. For us, that means the community first and foremost, the players, the people that are creating content, and the kind of participants in the community. We also kind of identified community leaders and moderators in particular as a group that get kind of a raw deal on some other platforms. So we want to make sure that they're part of the picture as well. For us, it's beneficial for us to kind of grow a platform that's successful and building up something that's cool. But we feel that if you can bring in a brand or a sponsor or a games company, a developer or a publisher, a company like Eve, it can be beneficial for them as well. So hopefully we can prove that by Eve investing into the platform, so they've put some money into the rewards which are being paid out to users. By them putting money in, that's creating new and different content. It's creating engaged and kind of incentivized users, and hopefully I think in particular I think one area that's really exciting is that on Discord and a lot of platforms you have the most hardcore users talking to each other, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily helping new users or helping kind of onboarding or kind of building up the awareness of a game for people who may be interested in it. So I think I can't speak and won't speak for CCP, but I think for the games companies that we're talking to, they see that as a really interesting way of kind of saying, well, if we could have our top users creating content and onboarding guides and kind of breaking down some of those barriers rather than it just kind of going back and forth in Discord, because obviously you only really join the Discord at the point where you're kind of already committed to the game. I think that could be really beneficial for growing the fan base, or the user base for a game like Eve.
Okay. For this next question, like you actually answer like a part of it, but there's money involved. CCP is paying a part of this money that you said, but the money that you're giving to the player, actually, like where is it coming from aside from CCP?
Yeah, so basically the model is that every community has a treasury, and that treasury is kind of a ring-fenced pot of money. So the Eve pot is good, is different, or separate to say the Starfield pot or kind of some other game or community. So the money from CCP goes straight into the Eve community. The way the model works is in our alpha and beta kind of stages, so the stages we're in now, 85% of the money they put in goes out to the community and we keep 15%. So obviously we have a tech team, we're doing a lot of work kind of to build the platform and to promote it and so on. Once we launch fully, the split will change to 70-30, so we will keep 30% and 70% will go to rewards. And yeah, we're kind of that's the same for everyone, and we're making that kind of clear. We think that we deliver a lot of value, but also we want to make sure that the majority goes to the community and the content creators, and that revenue split is obviously favorable, I think, in terms of most kind of other platforms that are out there. And then the other part of the model is of that kind of money that's going to the community, there's different ways it will go there. What we've shown so far and what's on the platform at the moment is the bounty system, which is very much kind of setting a challenge or a quest or a question that people can answer and get rewarded for. But soon we'll be going live with the kind of more organic rewards. So rather than being rewarded for something where we're saying, please do this, it's much more natural. So if someone decides to create a guide and it becomes popular and the community kind of react well to it, they can start collecting rewards without us being kind of prescriptive as to what's being created and when or how. So I think the organic rewards is kind of going to be a key piece of the project, and also the moderator rewards as well. So we recognize you don't have to be a kind of dedicated content creator to add value to a community or to a platform. So it's much more about identifying all the pieces, I guess, of the puzzle or of the community, and then we haven't yet got all the answers or how exactly it'll be split, but I think it'll be interesting to figure out how that treasury gets split, over what period of time, and for what different actions and activities. But yeah, we're only 6 days in, so we don't have all of that information just yet, obviously.
Yeah, that's actually great. Well, when you speak about money and way to get money, you might get people with gambling addiction and such. Do you have like any process in places concerning those?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, gambling is because of a slightly loaded term, and it's certainly not how we see kind of the kind of platform that we're building in the sense that there's not money going in terms of stakes, and it's certainly not random chance. Community votes and kind of community support are the key thing in terms of what gets rewarded and so on. We also felt early on it made more sense to have lots of people being rewarded maybe with smaller amounts of money, rather than one or two people getting much larger amounts of money. So it becomes more cooperative and kind of peer supportive. If 20 people are getting $5, it's hopefully not going to create jealousy in the community or a feeling of being hard done by. Whereas obviously if one person got $10,000, that would create a different kind of dynamic. So we don't again have the answers in terms of what's the right number of prizes, how often should they run, what's the right format of the questions, and so on and so forth. That's part of the reason why this week we've posted quite a few different ones. Some are larger, some are smaller, to see what kind of things are easily answerable, which ones are a bit more work, and so on, and then try and calibrate what works. And we also know that what works for Eve might be completely different for a different community anyway. So we're going to learn and test kind of a lot there. I think the founding principles is this idea, I guess, that the status quo and a lot of the current platforms are extremely one-sided in terms of who's creating the value and who's receiving the value. So we're trying to kind of create something that's more equitable. What that ends up looking like, I don't know, but we know that we have the kind of principles, and we know that if you're creating positive contributions, whether that's through creation or moderation or something else, that you should be kind of a participant in that. So I hope that kind of answers the question.
Yeah, it does. But like following up on this question, the sum that you're giving out can actually represent like a lot of money in some country or some situation based on their ability to pay, let's say, their rent, for example, with that kind of money. Do you have like mechanism in place to mitigate bad outcome, toxic competition, or bad kind of behaviors?
So obviously
it's gonna have like toxic behavior. I mean, it's Eve.
Yeah.
It's Eve, so you have to be prepared for that.
Absolutely. We've spent a lot of time talking about it and playing through all the kind of potential ways the system might get gamed or might be tried to be exploited, and kind of whenever you have a kind of economic incentive, you're going to get particularly if that incentive becomes greater, then you're going to get people that will try to do what they can to get that kind of within or outside of the rules, if you like. We have kind of played through lots of different scenarios and tried to predict everything, and then kind of had to take a step back and say, well, let's, to some extent, we need to see which areas are tested first and how they might be exploited, rather than trying to second guess every potential scenario, because there are so many. So from our point of view, it's like, how do we identify, how do we spot these kind of behaviors early, and then how do we react to them? I think as long as we know that kind of where we want to be and what we're trying to do, and this kind of, again, the mission and this idea of a kind of fairer share, then we can hopefully kind of figure out how people try to game that system and get around it. There's a few little things in place now, a few safeguards and so on. I think obviously we talk about community voting at the start. We've also got kind of a staff sort of verification stage. So, if everyone decided to vote for something that actually was not even relevant to the question or kind of not a valid entry, then that would be disregarded, at the kind of staff level. Obviously, there's then a delay before the money gets paid out as well. So again, rather than that being all automated and before you know it, crypto style, the bank account's been emptied by someone clever, there's a lot more sort of manual intervention at this point. But yeah, it's about kind of spotting those behaviors and so on. It's also about kind of setting the right kind of tasks. So the bounties, we want them to only be answerable by real humans, and particularly only real players. So we don't want, we want it to be more difficult for, say, someone who's never played EVE, who says, right, I see there's these bounties, I'm going to join the community and I'm going to try and get them. If the questions are set in the correct way, then it would be very, very difficult for someone to kind of fake those kind of answers. It would be very obvious to other community members that it was not authentic or genuine, or content kind of submitted in good faith. So there's that kind of thing. And I think that applies to AI as well, which is, at the moment, those kind of AI, generative AI kind of tools, ChatGPT style things, they will get better. But at the moment, someone who is really knowledgeable on a topic, and particularly the sort of collective knowledge of a community, can spot those pretty easily, I think, at the moment.
Okay, well, for sure you started with the best challenge for this kind of endeavor, I think, with the EVE community. Did you get let's say a good talk with the security team at CCP concerning the ingenuity of the community and how they are specialists in going all around all kinds of rules and behavior exploitation, botting, and automatic email generations and all that kind of stuff? Do you have those kind of security talk?
Not security. We did get a little heads up.
A little heads up. Yeesh.
But no, I mean, obviously, EVE's been around for 20 years, and we're kind of, similar amount of time, to how long, we've been in the games industry. So we've been on kind of parallel paths. So we've always, and I've certainly been always aware of the EVE community, and I've got friends who have been to FanFest and so on. I know that there's, a next level kind of commitment to being part of the community and what people will do. Hopefully in terms of the collective might of the EVE community is not yet targeted on us. We're trying to create something positive, something new, something different. There's not many platforms out there, that are, setting out to reward communities in this way, and we're doing it in good faith, and obviously with CCP's support, we're really excited to do it. So yes, we're aware of it. So far, everyone that's joined has been very friendly and supportive, and yes, lots of kind of probing and interesting questions. But actually, that's been really good to kind of challenge our thinking, and kind of conversations like this are kind of really helpful, I think, so that we can get it right and start to predict what might happen next. But yeah, we will see.
Yeah, but if I can suggest you something, get in touch with people of the security team at CCP, because remember that we're the best at admin maxing whatsoever. We're the only game that got an add-in in Excel. Remember that.
Yeah, that's true.
Great. So you talked a little bit about the voting system, and how do you manage or choose, let's say, the best story or the best way to award the money to the right people? All transparent is the process.
Yeah, to be honest, the process is really simple at the moment. It's based on those kind of, obviously you see the bounty, you see the rules, and you can post one bounty submission, kind of per user, onto that, and it, if it's text, it's kind of in the thread. If it's, say, an Instagram post or a TikTok post or something like that, you have to connect those accounts so we can attribute kind of the authorship, of that asset, if it's a screenshot or a short or a longer video on a different platform. And then the votes are coming from other members, or the reactions rather, which we're counting kind of as positive votes, are coming from other members of the EVE community, which at the moment is a small group. Obviously, it's only been promoted to the kind of EVE partner channel and maybe a few other tweets and things. So it's quite a small group, of people who are, also EVE players and experts and so on. So we're trying to foster this kind of, I guess, supportive feedback loop between fellow players and fellow creators within there. And as I say, there's the kind of manual checks in terms of making sure that it is on topic and is valid and does fit the rules and so on. That's kind of the most basic implementation, sort of V1. But we'll sort of look at, as you talk about, exploits and how you might get around that. There may be, one potential thing is, for example, you have to accumulate a certain number of bits of feedback or kind of be, of a certain level or reputation within the community for your vote, potentially to count in the future if we saw lots of people registering lots of accounts or things like that. There's a few safeguards as well with that. At the moment, we're only paying out through PayPal, so you have to connect your PayPal account. It's actually surprisingly more difficult to get a PayPal account these days than it used to be. But yeah, the kind of sort of in terms of connecting your Just About account to your PayPal account, and then kind of triggering the payout after you hit your kind of the threshold, etc. So there's quite a few steps and obviously a slight delay, which gives us time to really interrogate the behavior and check that those votes are valid and from other users, etc., and see that there's not vote swapping or kind of exchanges going on. But as I said, this is really early. We're 6 days in. And I think the most important thing is the kind of positive sort of sentiment to the idea, the kind of willingness to give it a go from the community, I think has been really pleasing.
Nice. Actually, you've been speaking about PayPal. Let's say that some people have made their PayPal about 20 years ago. How is it those days when you create one?
Yeah, no, that's true. They were a lot easier back then. I don't know if there's now, at what stage, because obviously when you start connecting your cards or bank accounts for payouts and then uploading passport details and things like that. So I think there's a lot more in terms of really? KYC on PayPal than there was. I don't know if they retroactively added it to all the old accounts or whether it's only when you get above a certain threshold. So this is beyond my kind of area of expertise. But as I say, it's we're very deliberately not a crypto platform for some of these reasons. It's a little more old school, but it does give us a few safeguards in terms of dealing.
For EVE Online players, it's good old school.
Exactly.
Like in the let's say coming weeks or month, will people be let's say obligated to connect their EVE account to see if they are actually real EVE players?
That is on the roadmap, not specifically with EVE, but across the board. We've talked a lot, and actually it's a key part of the plan to have in-game rewards for people that are creating content outside of the game. So whether that's in-game assets or in-game currency, or kind of other items, if you were particularly helpful in terms of creating guides or helping other users on Just About, the idea that could be identified within the game is really exciting. So it's further down in the roadmap, but the blending of kind of in-game and out-of-game rewards and content creation. I love the idea that you could go to a part of the game that no one else has seen, and it pops up and says there's a bounty for screenshots or videos of unseen, planets or ships and things like that. We want to obviously make it more generic in the sense that this could be could be an FPS game, could be a space game, could be a RTS, etc. But the idea of sort of in-game integration and rewards between the two is really exciting. And if Roblox as a community said we want to be paid in Robux, then we'd love to do that. And that could apply to kind of potentially any game or currency or item down the line. But at the moment, dollars and PayPal is the starting point.
Okay. Well, actually, you go right into the next question, because some people want to just do it for the altruism of doing like an act, and some will do it for the payment of it. Will there be possible to mix like those two kind of people, and let's say how they want to be paid or not? How will that go?
The short answer is yes. We recognise that that kind of extrinsic reward of money sometimes is either not needed or not wanted, and the kind of recognition is enough. We want it obviously to be an option. It's a key part of the platform. So I think the main options around this that we've discussed are, one would be you could tick a box and say, I don't want rewards, let's have it go back into the treasury. Another one could be, pool it towards a charity donation, which so I'll take the rewards, but not for me, but for, to kind of do it for good, either as an individual or maybe even collectively voted on as a community as a whole. Could be really cool. And obviously if people want to withdraw the money and what they do with it is kind of up to them as well. So they don't have to do it for the money in terms of to turn it into earnings. They may have something good that they could do with it. So I'm quite excited about what that might be able to do as a collective effort or as an individual effort.
Nice. So with the game implementation that you were talking about, we might actually say at some point plexes instead, as one of the choice of the choice, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways it could go. That it was kind of one of the most difficult things with the project actually, which is we came up with so many ideas, and we started building a little bit of everything, and we kind of got into development hell to some extent, which is the scope just was going more and more and more. Mainly my fault, because it kept sort of having ideas or encouraging us to build new ideas, and then. I guess a few months ago we said, let's just kind of strip it back and get something out there and start bringing on some users and see which way it goes. We'd much rather listen to, kind of feedback from real communities and from real people to kind of guide the roadmap and the development, rather than trying to second guess kind of every kind of last feature or idea. So we kind of stripped it back to kind of the bounty system, and you can sign up and connect your other accounts and start earning. I think the roadmap actually is on the site, so you can see some of the things we've got planned there, and it talks about in-game currencies and things like that. All of that is subject to change in terms of obviously timing, but also the order of things. If there's a huge demand for one specific feature, then we'll obviously start to prioritize that over our own ideas.
They're the one paying, right? Considering the achievement, the goals, how are they chosen? Do you have free will or some sort into that, or not at all?
What do you mean by the goals?
Sorry, how do you call that? The bounty.
So the winners or the prize.
No, how the category is selected. Let's say the best screenshot of this thing, the best do you have let's say CCP that gave you I want this to go in that particular way because strategic reason, or you have some free will, or they say that okay, you need to cover 10% that goes into high sec, that percent in null sec, wormholes, pudgeven, is there something like that?
No,
How does that work?
I understand the question. Sorry. Yeah. So we chose the bounty questions ourselves. We actually kind of hired someone, kind of an Eve, not expert, but someone was played Eve a reasonable amount to kind of come up with some ideas and to kind of run those bounties. And so, yeah, we did send them, to CCP before they went live, because we said, hey, these are the ideas that we've had for content. Do they look good to you? Are we doing something crazy? We don't want it, particularly at launch, for it to not be credible or relevant or interesting. Would be a shame. So we did share it to them, as a courtesy, really, and the feedback was, yeah, look, kind of looks great. So it's just, again, all of the conversations we've had have just been very supportive and encouraging. It was not about sending it to them to change it or kind of come in with completely different plans, but we just wanted to make sure that it was kind of relevant and so on, and make sure, as I said before, that it works for the community, it works for players, and hopefully works for CCP and works for the platform, and we're trying to get that kind of alignment between all of the different stakeholders. So yeah, we had free will, and we've got a big schedule of future ones kind of planned for the months to come. So we see this as a long-term, obviously the platform is a long-term endeavor, but we also really want to support communities that we know that are going to be around for many years to come. So from that point of view, Eve was a perfect candidate, because I think it will outlast any of us, for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. You touch like a good point, because you said like at the beginning, you're doing that way, but we know that CCP will launch different kinds of content. Will there be like incentive to, let's say, play this new content as the bounty that's gonna get out, to get players really into this content, for let's say a strategic positions, or not really, you just continue on your merry way?
If I understand the question correctly, in terms of future bounties and tying them into future Eve developments and things like that, is that the question?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that should happen naturally, as in, I think that CCP would, I would imagine, and I'm not speaking for them, I would imagine that they would want that. I imagine that we would want to do that to keep the bounties and the platform relevant, and I also think, I imagine the community would want that too, which is, if something new or interesting, a new game mode, or kind of any kind of new thing is coming along, that's the thing that the community will be interested in at that point, and new players might be interested in, existing players might be interested in. So I again, it goes back to that kind of, hopefully, sort of natural alignment between everybody that's involved. Clearly, we're also aware that if CCP go down one direction and the community don't like it, that's feedback that will be heard on Discord, on the official forums, on just about everywhere, and so we'll obviously be mindful of that, and to make sure that the bounties and the rewards reflect what the community are most interested in, first and foremost.
Nice.
You're talking a lot about Discord. Do you have like a Discord for just about?
No, so actually we joined the Eve Discord in terms of this communication. We started one where we've got just some of our staff in, but we haven't done that. We're actually very interested in whether it's a Discord bot or some other kind of integration in the future, where if there are votes or bounties going live on the platform, to make sure people in Discord are kind of aware of them straight away, and that these opportunities are being posted. So that probably be quite a basic implementation. But as I said, I think right at the start, this idea that if you've got a big group of kind of passionate players in Discord, and maybe a new game mode does come along and everyone's discussing it there, at the moment, how does that get surfaced on the web? It's unlikely that IGN or GameSpot or Eurogamer are going to go into enough depth to be kind of relevant. I think the kind of wiki sites out there are fantastic as resources, but they might not necessarily capture that kind of community discussion and some of the nuances and so on around it. So I do see, us fitting into the existing ecosystem. We need to be aware that, if you're creating on TikTok, you're not going to leave TikTok for just about, and if you're chatting on Discord, you're not going to leave Discord, but maybe there's an element of, kind of integration or joining the ecosystem and fitting in and offering something different.
Nice, nice. So we could like install on our Alliance bot a way to just vote, like a vote or link directly to just a boot, so that it will actually be like direct.
Nice. Yeah, I think we're kind of early stages again with this, but it just feels like such a natural fit, which is we're doing something different to Discord, and some of the Discords I'm a member of, they're very repetitive. It's very difficult to keep track and so on. So again, a more permanent, searchable, curated archive of content, could be quite interesting. So yeah, we will see.
So do you mean like there would be like a place of, like, let's say I don't connect to Eve like for 8 months, there would be like a place where here's what you missed, and then not going to the detail and scrolling down everything or something like that, or?
Yeah, exactly. I think again, we've seen a lot of websites will write kind of articles that will be summaries, and they're basically just copying people's Reddit comments or copying other people's Discord comments and so on. And I know that there's kind of AI curation tools now that will take the best of a Discord and try and present you with a summary. So I think this idea of curation of people's discussions is really, really interesting. I guess the difference for us is, rather than stealing that content and then monetizing it, why not actually make it a community effort and have them participate in that advertising revenue, or kind of as a kind of properly credited contributor, rather than just copying their Reddit comment and putting it on another website.
Nice. Actually, I got like another question concerning like the duration. Like that's a new project. CCP entrusted you with it, and we saw a lot of projects that CCP have tried. They are really good at trying new things, out of the box thinking. That's this kind of company, but they put due dates. So can we have like an idea about what's your due date to actually provide them with the value that they are looking for?
Well, I don't know the answer to that, but the kind of agreement that we have is an initial 12 months. I hope that's not confidential information that I've disclosed, but
I hope.
maybe it is. But with every company that we're talking to, we're basically saying, community support and community rewards is not a short-term endeavor. Supporting a community for a month and then withdrawing that support actually is not the kind of thing that we certainly are aiming for as a platform, and it's not necessarily great for the community either, and probably not for the games company. So there's no expectation or guarantee or anything like that this will continue running beyond 12 months, but that's exactly what we would like to happen. So I guess that would be, over the next year, let's show that we have nurtured and built or supported a community that is creating new and different content, that is helping other players, that is not as toxic as some of the other communities out there, and that there's lots of kind of goodwill and sentiment to it. I think if, again, I'm only speaking for me, but if we go back to CCP with that and say, look at this, kind of people are happy, creators are being rewarded, moderators are being rewarded, it's growing, and it's lots of great content is being created. Hopefully that would be a compelling enough reason for them to say, yeah, let's do more and let's do it for longer.
Yeah, well, I think you're right. But one of the things that stuck out, I don't know if you know about this section of Eve, how all the let's say like the people that say, oh yeah, like we know that we got like this person is with this alliance in nullsec, and they are the one behind let's say like the moderation of just a boot, and this other group player is against that, like all this let's say like not
The politics.
yeah,
The
all these
Politics, yeah,
politics,
game.
and like the people that accuse without proof. Is there some kind of transparency protocol or like a way to select people that has been put into place?
There's a few different things there. It's certainly one where I kind of would go back to the kind of the principles and the mission, and to say, you know, we certainly don't have all of the answers yet, and you know, there are undoubtedly going to be some issues and some politics, and that we will have to figure out as we go along. In the shorter term, there's a few things. So we were very kind of clear from the start that moderators would not be based on first in, you know, kind of run the community or the channel, and this idea that they become all powerful and it's their rules and so on. So kind of moderation rights would have to be earned through the platform in terms of positive participation and you know, kind of building up your score and your reputation within a community, and then you would be kind of invited in. The other principle was there was going to be no jobs for life. So, you know, becoming a moderator does not mean you're entitled to being a moderator forever, which is another one. We've done a lot of work on kind of how do you reward moderators, because you don't want misaligned kind of incentives. You know, you don't want to get $1 every time you ban someone, because then you'll ban lots of people. You know, you don't want to get $1 every time you delete a post, because then you'll delete lots of posts. So we're much more looking at, and we're working with a company called Player XP to do kind of sentiment analysis, but also toxicity analysis. So we can sort of benchmark different communities against each other, and to see, you know, what is the percentage of kind of inappropriate content, and what is that doing to the overall community sentiment and score. So it's much more likely the moderator rewards will be kind of retroactively applied to each of the moderators. So for example, you know, if the toxicity score is below, you know, 10% or 5%, whatever that benchmark is, at the end of the week, you know, here is a reward, rather than, you know, you are a moderator and you will be paid $10 an hour, so you must be online. It's much more of a collective, collaborative effort where everyone benefits from a less toxic, you know, and more positive and supportive space. But this is like early stage in terms of development, so this is going to be a complex area. But if we can create something that works and is kind of self-sustaining, then as we roll out more and more communities, that will be a really you know, positive thing to see, I think, because it's quite hard to do moderation at scale. You know, it's quite easy on a small community, but much harder, particularly as you go into multiple different unconnected communities.
Nice. So I can just like imagine like the Power BI behind it, and like how like you're gonna affect through the year, and like every single implementation, see like how they affect different aspect. Will there be like let's say a presentation or something that will be public concerning like those kind of things, or how will that work?
Yeah, we want to publish kind of, I think probably sort of those kind of stats and those top level data around the community, whether it's toxicity or sentiment, and you know, kind of activity stats and so on. I nerd out about those kind of dashboards, and I imagine the Eve community will be very keen on that kind of stuff too. We also want to have some transparency around the treasury, so to know, you know, how many dollars are in the pot, how many, you know, what percentage is going to moderators, what percentage is going to bounties, etc., etc. So yeah, those pages are kind of, I think they do exist on our sort of test site, and we want to figure out what's the right, you know, amount to share, and kind of, yeah, what, again, we need to think through what could be the negative implications of knowing there's a lot or not a lot of money in the treasury, or whether, you know, is it fair or unfair that moderators get this percentage but creators get this percentage, and so on. So I'm in favor of transparency, but we also have to think about
Strategy.
yeah, what are the impacts longer term. But yeah.
Nice, nice, nice. Well, speaking of treasury and like information, can you talk to us about like the security of the information that people provide you with?
Yeah, I saw kind of the kind of question about this in terms of sort of PayPal and creator accounts. So you'll notice when we connect external accounts, we're taking the absolute minimum amount of data. So I think in most cases it's just your username. You know, because for example, if we want to show that you're the author of an Instagram post, we don't need your date of birth or your email address or anything else like that. We just need to know that it's your account that is connected. So all of our kind of connected accounts are going with the absolute bare minimum, which I think is the best principle generally. Obviously in terms of our own platform as well, we're not keeping bank details or passport details or anything like that. So wherever we can use external services where you've already most YouTube creators would have had to verify their YouTube account probably with their passport and maybe with their bank details, etc., etc. So we're relying on third-party platforms for verification. We're also relying on them for kind of copyright. I know that's been mentioned in the Eve Discord a few times, but this idea of can I use copyrighted music on videos for a bounty? And so we're a little bit hands off in the sense that if YouTube allows it and we're embedding the YouTube post, then that's fine. And obviously they will have much more developed systems and policies and relationships with music labels and so on. So so if it's if it's okay for those platforms, then we're taking it's an okay for us perspective. So we're not hosting, for example, video directly on our platform and things like that.
Okay, nice, nice, nice. So Just a Boot is still in its early stage. Could we actually I've got like your roadmap from the website. Let's show here. Can we speak about that?
Yes, I guess the most important thing is to say that these are the kind of ideas that we came up with. So it's very much subject to change, and so far I think we've missed pretty much every date that we've set. So I wouldn't hang on those exact dates, kind of too tightly. So yeah, we want to be led by the community in terms of some of the priorities and where we focus. I think some of the key things for me in the short term are obviously around user roles and permissions, the moderator and curator type roles. Obviously lots of work to do on the rewards. I mentioned the rollout of organic rewards and moderator rewards, and then ultimately the sharing of advertising revenue back into the treasury and things like that. So we want to automate a lot of that. And then I guess the big one is the personalization and customization, which is we've created an MVP or a version 1 that we think looks pretty good, but is not going to be to everyone's taste. Some people will want lots more information, some people want less, some people want a different visual style. We're very keen to give users kind of full control as to what's in their feed and what's on the live feed on the right hand side of the page, and things like that. So
for the Eve community, if I may interrupt you, you did something really great that we all appreciate up to now. You got a dark mode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think rather than us trying to second guess design decisions and so on, like how much can we make customizable, and a personal pet hate for me on pretty much every social media platform is the dreaded algorithm, and being if I say I want chronological mode, that's what I want. I don't want it to be reset to suddenly getting served things that I haven't asked for or don't follow. And I think pretty much every social platform will kind of push their algorithm and push their suggested content on you. So I think that's a really big key one, which is if we could create complete control of the feed, whether that's the topics that are shown or not shown, or the communities that are shown or not shown, but maybe the article or media types, and obviously keywords, kind of inclusion or exclusion, etc. I really love the idea that we could be one of the first platforms that truly kind of respects the user's choice. So that's obviously really, lots of work to get that right. But it also solves a problem for us, which is we don't have to continually decide what should we be pushing and what shouldn't we be pushing on a user. It really should be the user's choice. So yeah, that would be good. And I mentioned the Discord kind of bot or certainly more integration with Discord as well. So we've got lots of work to do over the next year or two, I guess.
Nice. So yeah, so we see this roadmap, but I guess by the end of the year, it's gonna be revamped in some way, or will we see the next step as soon as summer is over? How
No,
far?
it's very much a guide and maybe kind of a kind of headline sequence of what we've got planned. Some of those things are already done. Some are very close to being rolled out, as in the next few weeks. And then other things will take longer, or maybe, if they prove more complex, might get pushed back. So yeah, no, it's a rough guide, but hopefully just to give you an idea of I think the main thing we wanted to demonstrate, which is what you see today will be different in a month and in 3 months and in 12 months and so on.
Okay, great.
That's always awesome.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. It didn't happen today, so yeah. No, it did. Okay. Nice. So you're I'll say that talking a lot about just about being for positive, going toward let's say more agreeable sentiments. Is it like a way to getting rid of trolls and the like? What is the idea behind it for the ambience that you want to set in?
Yeah. Getting rid of trolls on the internet is very, very difficult. Very, very few platforms have succeeded.
Yeah.
It's 100% the goal, in the sense of it's clear, I think, to everyone, certainly everyone in our team. I think there's research out there, I'm sure you would agree that non-toxic communities are better for everyone. They're better for the individual. They're better for new users. It's better for moderators. It's actually better for the game company and for their staff as well. If you can reduce toxicity, everyone's happier. It's a better place to be. I think it's difficult. If you think that the rewards platform is so important to what we're doing, that requires new money kind of coming in to be paid out. So for new money to come in, it has to be a place that is safe and curated and not toxic. So it's a huge focus for us, and it's why we're kind of deliberately rolling out, piece by piece and reasonably slowly, because I think there's an element of, the first people into the party set the tone, and so if you can kind of get that first core of people that are positive and believe in what we're trying to do, and they can kind of set that tone for future newcomers and new communities, I think is really, really important. And as I say, a brand is more likely, a sponsor, a games company is more likely to put money in for rewards if they know that it's going to a safe environment. And there's plenty of platforms that brands do not touch and do not advertise on. For that reason, I won't mention them, but they're you may. Some of them have been in the news recently. So yeah, the kind of steps for that are we're integrating Hive, which is an automated moderation tool. Which is really quite powerful, but it's it can't do everything. It will stop your spam and the most obvious abuse, and it can handle lots of different languages, which is going to be important for us. And things like that. But then it's getting the kind of community moderation piece right, both rewards but also support. I think moderators are kind of unsupported as well as sort of unrewarded on a lot of platforms, so they need the tools, they need the support, and yes, we're going for a kind of zero tolerance approach, because once you let it go to a certain extent, it's very hard to get it back. So we'd much rather be zero tolerance and as a result have a smaller platform, than kind of go for growth at all costs and then effectively have a place that we don't want to hang out on, and other people don't want to either. So that's our kind of approach to that.
Yeah, it makes me think when we actually built Sorry, because we had like that kind of mindset. Well, we still do. Not easy, and like we did stumble upon, let's say, like a few hardships, and we learned. It did cost though. Yeah.
Sounds like a story for another time.
Yeah, indeed. Well, actually, is there like something that you would like to add concerning Just a Boot?
Yes. Well, firstly, thanks for having me on the podcast, and to all the Eve players that watch or listen to this. Yeah, thanks for the positive welcome we've had. Obviously lots of questions, but yeah, lots of enthusiasm, lots of nice comments, and so it's been a really kind of positive week for us after working in sort of private for quite a few months now, to kind of have real people showing enthusiasm, and there's some interesting comments and people interested in how it's going to go in the future. I guess my question for both of you would be, what would be the number one thing that you would like to see the platform do or kind of achieve, and perhaps one thing that, not to end on a negative, but one thing you think we should watch out for, or kind of we need to put more effort into.
Do you want to start then?
Well, the thing that I'm more afraid of is like that's gonna be like a popularity contest, and it's not like, oh, that story is really interesting. It's just like, oh, Ben write it, so of course it's awesome. So it is.
Yeah, well, I did want $5.
Yeah, but like it's they don't read it and just vote for Ben and not vote for the real good story. That's what I'm afraid of. But well, we're gonna see how it goes. At least you are aware of it, so that's already something.
Yeah.
Then you want to continue?
Yeah, well, actually, it's well, knowing the Eve community is people seeing Just About being like the next challenge of how can I mix man this and exploit it for my own benefits, because well, Eve community is well known for that, and they got tools, they got teams of thinkers that are doing that nonstop, and now they got AI. So yeah.
And what I would like the platform to go, well, maybe it's weird, but like I would like it to be a blog. Like you keep the story and you put it somewhere, and so like even if you don't want to really vote for someone, you're just looking at the subject and you are like, oh, that subject is interesting, maybe I can just read on it. So that's something that I would like.
Yeah, like be like having flares that you can actually, okay, I want to hear stories about people that fall in love because of Eve and that got married because it did happen. So or I want to get PvP insight, or let's say market stories, those kind of flair that can actually just, okay, this morning I feel like reading about that. I get we're now in winter, we got it on our phone, so in the morning I'm just scrolling through those stories because that's the kind of story I want to read about. That would be great.
Nice. I think we're really interested in seeding that kind of control, or rather than us saying please make this, that coming from the community, we had to kind of start somewhere, or to get things started we have to kind of prompt some activity, but hopefully that will come through, and yeah, the ideas of different topics and tags and so on will kind of be implemented soon. And yeah, the organic rewards hopefully takes away this idea of we have to set a bounty in the longer term. If you want a thing and someone else, decides to post it and people like it, and then that's how the kind of reward should flow. So hopefully, all of that sort of in the plan.
Great. But yeah, like if I could like maybe like add something that I would really wish for is to actually deliver on like a non-toxic community. That would be great, because well, I don't think it's been seen like publicly. I mean, because we got like let's say like groups of players like also in advance, like we're a non-toxic community, but it's a closed community. Like we interview each and every one of them, like we make sure that everyone is okay, and like we get stories from other members, something that is not going right, but it's closed, it's controlled. But when you open it like for like large amount of people, keeping it non-toxic, yeah,
That's gonna be a good challenge.
that's a commitment. And starting with Eve, well, you like challenge, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's great feedback, and maybe I'm naive, but I believe there are far more good people out there, and people that want to see something be kind of positive and successful and so on. And so yeah, if we can give that support and the platform and so on, then I still believe.
I still believe, and I like that. Well, actually, on those words, I want to personally thank you to having take the time to come in the dam and speak with us. It was really appreciated. So, do you have like last words for, like before we let the show go?
No, just to say thank you very much, and see you on Just About Eve very soon.
So that's perfect.
Yeah, thank you. I can't wait to see although everything will go. So yeah, thank you a lot.
Awesome.
Great.
Thanks very much.
So see you, beavers.
Bye.
Au revoir.